These are the answers for the Algebra Regents January 2017 short response questions 25 to 37. In question number 25, in attempting to solve the system of equations y equals 3x minus 2 and 6x minus 2y equals 4, John graphed the two equations on his graphing calculator. Because he only saw one line, John wrote the answer to the system is the empty set. Now, by the empty set, that means that there are no solutions. All right, so he's saying that there's no solutions. Is he correct? Explain your answer. So you have this first equation. So if you go and type in that first equation, you can graph it and see what it looks like. It'll be a line. But then to graph the other one, we would need to rearrange for y equals. So to get the y all by itself, we would do minus 6x and minus 6x. Then divide by 2's. Remember, you can't do a plain number minus an x, but we can switch around the order to be negative 6x plus 2. Then we want to divide by negative 2, negative 2, negative 2 to get the y all by itself. And we end up with y equals 3x minus 2. Notice that these two equations are the same exact equation. So there's two different equations. We graph them. They're the same exact thing because it's literally the same exact equation. Is that the empty set or no solution? No, this is really infinite solutions. All right, it's really infinite solutions because every point on the one line is exactly like every point on the other line. They are identical. So that you have to say in this one, is he correct? You have to answer the question by saying no. And then you have to say that they are infinite solutions, not no solutions or the empty set, because every point is exactly the same. In question number 26, this one can be done in two totally different ways. A typical marathon is 26.2 miles. Alan averages 12 kilometers per hour when running the marathons. Determine how long it would take to complete the marathon to the nearest 1/10 of an hour. So you have to use the formula distance equals rate times time. You're going to see this formula quite often, and they just expect you to know this formula, distance equals rate times time. Now, there's two totally different ways to do this, one way in the red, one way in the blue. We see that we get the same answer either way. You either have to, as the first step, make your miles, convert your kilometers into miles, or convert your miles into kilometers. All right, you either have to do it either way. So in this one, we can look at the reference table and we know that 1 mile is 1.609 kilometers. Well, it says that there's 26.2 miles. So if we multiply by 26.2 and multiply by 26.2, we get that 26.2 miles is 42.1558 kilometers. So stick that into your distance equals rate times time. The total distance is 42.158 kilometers. That's how many 26.2 miles is. So we're making it into kilometers. And then we're going to take our speed here, our rate, and stick it into the rate spot. So 12 is your rate. We're looking for the time. So distance equals rate times time. Divide by 12 is just a one-step equation. We get that it would take 3.5 hours. The other way to do it is that on the reference sheet as well, it says that 1 kilometer equals 0.26 miles. So we can multiply by 12 and multiply by 12 because it's 12 kilometers per hour. We're going to get that they go 7.44 miles per hour. So now using the miles, it would be 26.2. That's your total miles equals the rate, which is 7.44. All right, that is the 12 kilometers per hour in terms of miles. So going 7.44 miles per hour times the time, divide by 7.44. And again, you get 3.5 hours. So you either have to make your miles into kilometers or kilometers into miles first. In question number 27, you're just solving the inequality. Remember, anytime that you're solving inequalities, if you multiply or divide by a negative number, you have to flip the sign. That doesn't happen in this problem, but what I would do is one of the ways to solve it, and there's multiple ways that you could solve this one, all being the same answer in the end. So what I did here first was I'm trying to get my letter all by itself. So I did minus 1.8 and minus 1.8, and then I did plus 2y and plus 2y. You could have done the plus 2y first. You could have done plus 0.4y first. You could have done minus 2.2 first. You really have your choice. This is just the way that I chose to do it. No matter which way you get it, you get y is greater than or equal to 0.25. Remember, if you got an answer, because you might have done this a little bit differently, if you got this as an answer, we can't leave inequalities written backwards like that. We would have to take it and flip it around so that it looks like that. When you flip the sides, you have to flip the sign as well. So it ends up being y is greater than or equal to 0.25. In question number 28, Jacob is working on his math homework. He decides that the sum of the expression 1/3 plus 6 radical 5 over 7 must be rational because it is a fraction. Is he correct? And explain your answer. Well, if you actually go and type this into the calculator, that's probably the easiest way to do it. 1/3 plus this. Make sure that you have this inside parentheses, all right, to make it into a fraction. So we have 1/3 plus this. You get this big, long, ugly decimal. That is an irrational number because it's non-terminating, non-repeating. We could go through and make common denominators. This is a different way to do it. If we multiply by 7 over 7 and multiply by 3 over 3 to make common denominators of 21, we would get 7 plus 18 radical 5. Radical 5 right here is an irrational number, so it has to be irrational. You could have also just said no. If a rational, which 1/3 is, and an irrational, which because of the radical 5, that's irrational, are added together, it is irrational. Anytime that you're adding an irrational number into it, your answer is going to be irrational every time. In question number 29, I would just type this into my y equals, make sure you have greater than. So make sure that you have I would do second and table to find your points. You could also just start at the y-intercept of -5 and go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. Make sure that you have a dotted line because it's greater than, all right, dotted line because it's greater than, and then it's greater than, so we're shading above the line. Notice that it also says state the coordinates of a point in the solution. You could pick up any point in this shaded area. I picked 0, 0. I thought that was a very easy point, but you could pick any point in this shaded area. Just don't, in this one, pick a point on the line. Remember, it would have to have the or equal to be a solution on the line. So then it would be a solid line if it had the or equal to. So you can't pick a point on the dotted line. It has to be in the shaded area. In question number 30, Sandy programmed the website's checkout process with an equation to calculate the amount that our customers will be charged when they download songs. The website offers a discount. If one song is bought at the full price of $1.29, each additional song is 99 cents. So for the first song, they're paying $1.29. For every song after that, they're paying 99 cents. So we have $1.29 for the first song plus 99 cents times, now this is the tricky part of this one, it would be the number of songs, S, or you could use X, it doesn't matter. Actually, you do need to use S, I lied. You have to use C and S because those are in the question. So, so your cost equals $1.29 plus 99 cents. This is the tricky part, times the number of songs minus 1. Why is it minus 1? Because for the first song, you're paying $1.29. So let's say that you're buying 5 songs. Well, you really want this 99 cents. You're paying for 4 of them and paying 1 with the $1.29. So that's why you have to do the S minus 1. That's the tricky part because of that $1.29 for the first song. Sandy figured that she would be charged $52.77 for 52 songs. Is this correct? Well, all that you want to do is plug in the 52 into your equation, which is what we did here. When we do that, we end up with 51.78. Does that equal 52.77? No, it doesn't. You do need to show this work and say no. In question number 31, a family is traveling to their home, from their home to a vacation resort hotel. The table below shows the distance that they travel as a function of time. Determine the average rate of change. So there are a couple different ways. I showed 3 different ways to do this one. I personally think anytime that you have the average rate of change, they are talking about the slope. So here are your points. You have 2 and 140, you have 7 and 480. So I would sub them into the slope formula. So you end up getting 68. You could just find the difference between them. 480 minus 140. 481 minus 140 is 340. So that's how many total miles in between those two units, or 2 hours. 7 minus 2 is 5. So 5 hours to go 340 minutes. You could just do 340 divided by 5, which is 68. That's a fine way to do it. Or you could use our good old friend, the distance equals rate times time formula. The distance is 340. The time is 5 hours. And so divide by 5 and divide by 5 to find your rate, which is 68. In question number 32, Nora says that a graph of a circle is a function because she can trace the whole graph without picking up her pencil. Mia says that a circle graph is not a function because multiple values of x map to the same y value. Determine if either one is correct and justify your answer. You have to explain both people. So actually both of them are incorrect. All right. Nora, all right, it is true that you could trace a picture without picking up your pencil. I could draw a circle like this and not pick up my pencil at all. But there are 2 points right above each other. All right. On the circle, there would be a point here and a point here, for example. Those 2 points right directly above each other make it fail the vertical line test. You can't have 2 points directly right above each other. All right, you can't have 2 y values with the same x value. Mia is also incorrect. It is a function because one x value has different y values. All right, it is not a function because one x value has 2 different y values. She switched up. If she would have switched the x and y here in her reasoning, then she would be correct. But it's that one x value can't have 2 y values. In question number 33, graph the two things. Remember, to do the absolute value, you have to hit second and catalog, which is the second and 0 to do the absolute value. Type both of them in, hit second and table, and graph the two graphs. Make sure you have arrows on the ends, and you should always label. Does the f of -2 equal the g of -2? Well, -2 is right here. All right, -2 is right there. Notice that those two graphs are crossing right there. They intersect. So is this correct? Do they equal each other right there at -2? Yes, they do. All right, so you have to say yes. Use your graph to explain why or why not. You could just say that this is the intersection point. All right, this is the intersection point of the two graphs. So they are the same. In question number 34, we're going to set up a system of equations, all right, and then solve for the 2 letters. So it says 2 friends went to a restaurant and they ordered 1 plain pizza and 2 sodas, and their bill was $15.95. So 1 pizza, 2 sodas, $15.95. At the same restaurant, another group ordered 3 pizzas and each person had 1 soda. So 5 friends, so 5 sodas. Tricky part of that one, all right, if you don't read the question, each person had 1. They're not just buying 1 soda. They're buying 5 sodas. So 3P plus 5S, and their bill was $45.90. So these are the 2 equations. You could make opposites, multiply to create opposites with your P's. That's what I did on this side. I made opposites with my S's over here. We can make opposites with our P's by multiplying by -3 to create a 3P and a -3P. Distribute, distribute, distribute. Don't forget to do that. And so then we have opposites with our P's. We would add going down, and we get that S, that a soda is $1.95. Take that $1.95. You can choose either equation and sub it back in, and we get that the price of a pizza is $12.05. The other way to do it would be to create opposites with my S's. Well, 2 doesn't go into 5 evenly, so I could create by multiplying them together, I could create a 10S and a -10S. You could multiply by -5 and 2. If you wanted to do 5 and -2 instead, that's fine. It doesn't matter. This is just the way that I did it. So again, distribute, 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 distribute. We make a -10S and a +10S. You notice that these are canceling out right here. So we add going down, we end up with P equals $12.05. And then just like we did over here, we would sub into one of the equations. So we would have 12.05 plus 2s equals 1595. And then we would solve that equation. So we would do minus 12.05 minus 12.05 to get the 2s all by itself. And so we have 2s equals, what is this, 390. And then divide by 2, and we get that same answer that we did over here of s equals 195. In question number 35, so we have this, Tanya is making homemade greeting cards. The data table represents the amount she spends in dollars, the f of x, in terms of the number of cards she makes, x. So this is the number of cards, this is the amount that she spends. Write a linear function, f of x, so we have to have f of x, we can't say y. Anytime they give you something like that, you have to use it. So what I would do is I would do stat edit, type these values into your L1 and L2, and then do a linear regression, stat calc number 4. So when you do your linear regression, you get that the number in front of the x is 0.75 and your plus or minus is 4.5. So this is our linear function. Explain what the slope and the y-intercept mean given the context. So the slope, it's 75 cents. All right, we're looking at this. The slope, 75 cents. That's how much each card costs. And then the y-intercept, that's how much it started out with. All right, your y-intercept is always your initial value, the initial setup costs. In question number 36, Alex launched the ball into the air. The height can be represented by this equation. Graph it from t equals 0 to t equals 5. So we're not going to draw it all the way down. If you drew it all the way down, you didn't stop at 5. All right. When we do second and table, all right, we get the values for 0 through 5. So we graph those. No arrows on the ends because all that we're doing is graphing 0 to 5. State the coordinates of the vertex. The vertex is this point right here. All right, the vertex is this point right here. How do I find that vertex? That is the max. So second calc, and we would find the maximum. All right, so the maximum is 2.5 comma 55. We have to state those as coordinates. So you need a comma and you need parentheses, and explain its meaning in the context of the problem. Well, this is the max height. All right, that's when the ball is at the highest point. All right, because it goes up and then it reaches that highest point. That's the max before it starts going down. So that's the highest that the ball is. And the last one, Ian is borrowing $1,000 from his parents to buy a computer. He plans to pay them back at a rate of $60 per month. Ken is borrowing $600 from his parents to buy a snowboard. He plans to pay them back at $20 a month. Write an equation that can be used to determine after how many months the boys will owe the same amount. So when are they going to be equal to each other? The tricky part is setting up the two things. So for Ian, he's borrowing $1,000 and he's paying them back at $60 a month. This is this equation will give you how much they still owe. So if we subbed in a 1 into this equation, 60 times 1 is 1. 1,000 minus 60 would be 940. All right, that's how much you owe still after 1 month. If we subbed in a 2, that would be 120. So 1,000 minus 120 is 880, and so on and so forth. Ken is going to pay back $20 a month. So 600 minus the $20 times the number of months. So this is the equation that you have to have. Determine algebraically and state in how many months the two boys will owe the same amount. Now they want you to solve this equation. So you can see my work. There's various different ways that you could solve it. This is the way that I chose to solve it. No matter which way, you should get an answer of 10. All right. Now be careful. There's more than just solving for x equals 10. State the amount that they will owe at this time. So when we go to sub in a 10, all right, when we go to sub in a 10, you could choose either one because that's where they owe the same amount. So when you sub in a 10 here, you get that they both owe $400 at month number 10. Ian claims that he will have his loan paid off 6 months after he and Ken owe the same amount. 6 months after, so that would be month 16. All All right, be careful. You have to read. Determine and state if Ian is correct. Well, by subbing in a 16, he's going to have $40 left still. So is he correct? No, he is not. He will still have $40 left to pay off 6 months after they owe the same amount. So here's your scores. What was a 65 was a 27. That would be 14 multiple choice questions correct.